Flavored air is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking. And at the forefront of it all, wouldn't you know, my partners, Fume, helping you to break away from awful habits. This right here is an award-winning flavored air device. It will deliver great taste without any harmful chemicals. Instead of inhaling vapor, you will simply breathe in natural, non-toxic flavors, and it will satisfy your craving without the downside. By the way, if you like to keep your hands busy, I gotta tell you, you gotta feel this Fume thing. It's actually, I don't like setting this down, but maybe you're just looking to curb an urge. Fume's premium wood design is built for both flavor and function. The fidget features on this are really going to help you to relieve stress and help you stay focused. Over 500,000 people have already made the switch to Fume as part of their habit-changing journey. And if you're ready to try it for yourself, let me tell you, now's the time. For a limited time, if you order the Journey Pack using my code Chael, you will get a free Fume topper. Click the link. Tryfume.com/Chael. That's F-U-M, dummy. Or to make it really simple, you can just scan the QR code. I put it right on the page. Go ahead and get yours today. Du Plessis versus Chimaev got a backup fighter. Isn't that interesting? Aren't you interested in that? I've always felt it's a miss at the UFC to not promote the backup fight. Now, we would never really know. Like, I would never be able to say my way is better, or the UFC have their marketing team push back and say, no, Chael, this is better. Keep him quiet, keep him in the shadows, only bring him out if you need him. Don't confuse the audience. Don't half promise a card that you know you can't deliver. All of that makes sense, and I can't disprove it. It would be an experiment. We would have to try it one time. I just find the backup process to be fascinating. And the backup process, I would think, is just as competitive as finding the two guys they're going to fight. I would think you would get in the war room and you'd have 2 or 3 names and you'd have a discussion back and forth, and then you'd pick up the phone and see who answers, and then of the guys that answers, who wants the opportunity, as opposed to call my manager, and then the manager starts negotiating for money, and all of a sudden the guys in the war room find out he doesn't really want it, he just wants the paycheck, go with that guy. I would imagine, and then I would imagine there would be an informant of the opponents. In this case, Imanov is going to be the backup fighter. I would imagine there would be a process where you inform Khamzat Chimaev and you inform Dricus du Plessis that if something happened to either of them, the new built-in fixture known as a replacement fighter, Imanov, will step in on late notice or short notice, but be ready for him because he's the one that's out there. I would just imagine that that's a fun and competitive process. I feel like this rises the stock of Imanov, who, by the way, after getting an incredible win over Adesanya, does deserve something. He did look like kind of the odd man out as the other 85-pounders were getting matched up, so I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, Dricus went a step further. Dricus took the post that says Imanov will be backup fighter, and Dricus took that as an announcement that in Chicago later this year, he will be defending his title against Imanov because he believes that Chimaev, who has a history of pulling out of fights, is going to stick true to form and pull out of the fight. And by the way, that's a little bit of a false rumor. That whole idea that Chimaev has had to pull out of a bunch of fights, that really is a little bit of a false rumor. And I could break that down and you could show me your evidence, but I mean, come on. When the pandemic hit, Chimaev never thought he was going to fight again. He thought he was going to be one of the statistics. He was on a ventilator. He didn't believe he was ever going to leave that room. So that was the first of the fights that he had to pull out of. And I just share for you in extreme cases such as that. I don't know that 5 years later we stick around and use that to try to like pierce the veil of this guy's immaculate credibility. So I like the idea of Imanov, but I like what Dricus is doing with this even more. I like that Dricus is pushing right around Chimaev. I mean, Chimaev has been the boogie monster in everybody's closet at 170 and 185 pounds. He started to creep into the dreams and nightmares of 205 pounders for a brief period of time there. Now he's made it pretty clear that 205 safe, 170 you're safe, and 185 I'm coming for all of you. And finding an opponent for Chimaev has been wildly difficult. This guy has been a three-time number one contender. 3 different times he won the match needed to win, to earn himself a world title fight. And some of those fights he had to pull out of because of injury. But again, when you break your hand in a number one contenders match against Kamaru Usman, and the fight slips up 6 weeks after your hand gets in a cast for what a doctor told you is going to be an 8-week treatment, in my opinion, it's very difficult to use that as evidence that Chimaev has pulled out of a fight. I think the bigger story is they're coming to Chicago. We've been very unclear on what has kept Chimaev out of the States. We've been very unclear on what has kept Chimaev out of the octagon. But there is strong rumor that hasn't been resisted that Chimaev was having a difficult time getting around. I'm talking about getting on airplanes and from one location to another, and that he had to fight in the Middle East because it was the only place that he could get to. We never quite had that confirmed. And we never had it unconfirmed. We just had an announcement come out of Chicago. But we've had several other world title announcements. We've had world title announcements that are going to take place sooner than Chimaev flies out to Chicago to take on Dricus. And none of them have backup fighters. And when we got a fight in just a minute, it's going to be a rematch. Sugar Sean versus Merab. There's no backup fighter. I wish there was. I like backup fighters. We're talking about John and Tom, and that thing's going to be done. We're not talking about a backup fighter. We're not talking about what we're going to do in the event that it isn't done. We're talking about Islam. And we're talking about Jack, and there's no backup fighter. And we're talking about Ilia Topuria, and we're talking about Charles Oliveira. But by the way, there wouldn't be a backup fighter for that either. I mean, not in the normal sense, because they're not fighting for an interim title. It's one of those guys, Ilia or Charles, comes down. Whoever steps in to an undisputed world title bout. And it does make me wonder, what do you have to do? What do you have to qualify for? What are the reasons that we would put a backup fighter in? And in this case specifically, what is the reason that we have 5 world title fights announced right now, and of the 5, only one has the suggestion even of a backup fighter? Some level of knowledge goes into that. Some amount of thought went into that. And you can laugh at Dricus if you want, but to have 5 title fights, but only have one backup fighter? Perhaps Dricus is right, and perhaps Dricus should be training to take on Imanov.